Canelo Alvarez versus Jamie Munguia. 12 rounds in the 168-pound division. This is for all of Canelo's belts. This is what Munguia has been working towards. If he is going to take the belts, now is the time to do it. But the question is, will he? Let's get into it. Let's start with Canelo Alvarez, the champ. 60 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, and 39 wins by way of knockout. Canelo gets a lot of slack for taking this fight of fighting Munguia because we want to see him against who? None other than David Benavidez. With Benavidez going up to 175 pounds next to fight, I don't think we'll get that Canelo fight anytime soon. Until we see differently, I'm not expecting that fight to be made. But at the same time, man, Munguia isn't going to make this an easy fight. I actually like this fight when it was announced because I think Munguia is going to bring out an older version of Canelo that we're accustomed to. I think we're going to get the Canelo, he's going to bring out that Canelo version that stopped Kovalev, right? That Canelo version that fought Billy Joe Saunders, that Canelo version that stopped Billy Joe and Caleb Plant, that aggressive power punching, counter-attacking Canelo Alvarez, because one thing Munguia is going to do, he's going to make you fight at some point in this fight. Munguia is a young and hungry fighter who's going to be looking to make his mark right now. Kind of like when Canelo fought Shane Mosley. Kind of like when Canelo fought Floyd Mayweather, Amir Khan, Miguel Cotto, right? At one point, Canelo was the young one coming up trying to leave his mark, and Munguia is going to be doing that, try to doing that. He has that same mindset and mentality. It's a great opportunity for him. Now, Canelo is 33 years old, right? This is his 65th fight. He's been around for a while now. He's been at the top of his game for a while now, for a good amount of time now. One of the things we all want is for the guys that we like and support to fight often, right? But this is the generation of not a lot of fights. Most times you see your favorite fighter once a year, right? You're not always going to see them twice a year. You probably may see them once a year, if that. Sometimes, you don't see your favorite fighter for like 2 years. So the thing with Canelo is whether you like him or you not, you got to respect the activity, right? It wasn't too long ago that he went on this massive run and became undisputed in 1 year, right? So one thing about Canelo, man, is he is going to find a way. He going to get into the ring. Whether it's who we want him to fight or not, he going to find himself inside of the ring. Now, with Canelo having 65 fights, 65 different opponents, similar styles, different styles. He's been in the ring with almost every style. Like, he's seen every style. And that's the thing with having so many fights, man. There's nothing that you haven't seen before. Munguia is a pressure fighter. He's going to come forward. He's going to let his hands go. He's got power and he's got volume. And more times than not, his volume is his defense. This fight reminds me of the first time when Canelo fought Triple G. Like, maybe it goes that way, maybe it doesn't, right? But the first time Canelo fought Triple G, well, I'm not saying Munguia is Triple G because he's not, right? But Triple G wasn't going into this fight when he fought Canelo to box Canelo, right? He was going to come in, bring calculated pressure when he's in close, let his hands go, and try and outwork Canelo and beat him to the punch, so to speak. Canelo was trying to counter Triple G in that fight, trying to catch his timing, trying to catch him coming in and counter him with hooks and uppercuts from in close and targeting the body, attack the body to slow down Triple G. This, to me, was also around that peak Canelo defense, right? Canelo might have slow feet. He may not move the greatest, flat-footed, but man, there was a point where Canelo's head movement, torso movement, man, was remarkable. You remember that performance against Danny Jacob, how Danny Jacobs was swinging for air and Canelo was ducking and weaving shots. Canelo was slick and crafty in the ring, at least at that time. He was more crafty, more subtle, more slick back then than he is now, but, he still got that same type of athleticism and movement. There's more than one way to be elusive inside of the ring other than just using your feet. Now, Triple G was right there every round, right? Trying to slow him down, trying to catch him stagnant so we can unload shots on Canelo. Triple G was landing on Canelo, but Canelo was also timing him coming in with counters as well too. So both men were having success against each other. The overhand right landed nicely for Triple G a couple times in that fight. Landed on the chin, sometimes landed on the neck. It was working. It was effective. But you could also see that whenever Canelo was on the ring, that's when Triple G would have his success. But he also respected Canelo and the power of Canelo because the man can punch. Like, you got to respect it. And we know that Canelo is an excellent counter puncher and body puncher, and his placement is very exceptional. And it's always interesting to me when people say, man, I'm going to come in and I'm going to stop Canelo. I'm going to stop him within 8. And I'm just like, yo, like, Canelo pound for pound has one of the greatest chins in the sport today. Like, Triple G punched Canelo with everything that he had, landed some clean flush shots, and Canelo ate it. Both of these guys have great, exceptional chins. Triple G is up there for one of the greatest chins as well. Now, as that fight played out, there was some controversy because a lot of people thought that Canelo lost the fight. Canelo, with the exception of his most recent fight against Jermell Charlo, he has shown that he does slow down as the fight goes on, gets a little bit tired, not as well conditioned, right? And the Triple G pressure was tiring Canelo out. Munguia is the younger man, and so he's got to use that to his advantage and try to tire Canelo out. Triple G outworked Canelo to me. Canelo, when he let his hands go, man, he does great work. But when he lets off these power punches one shot at a time, there's rounds there that can be won for Munguia if he can be consistent with his volume as he has shown in the past. When you get Canelo to just let off one shot at a time, you got to be able to outwork him when he does become comfortable doing that. Another fight, similar stature-wise, 6 foot, good reach, was kind of when Canelo fought Sergey Kovalev. But that was an older Kovalev, and a Kovalev that kind of seemed like he forgot that his nickname was the Bone Crusher, right? He wasn't crushing no bones in that fight. He was boxing more rather than imposing his size and his power. And I get that Kovalev was trying to do, probably trying to weather the storm in the first half and come on strong in the second half, boxing smart. And again, trying to take him out in the second half. But Canelo was doing the same thing, except Canelo executed the game plan much better. And you know how that played out. And it just made me think, man, like, sometimes you get into the ring with Canelo and it's like this Canelo effect, right? You don't fight your fight. You try and come in thinking you have to fight a different fight, and it doesn't work out in your favor, and Canelo takes advantage of it. Caleb Plant was boxing well against Canelo. He fought his fight, but he gassed out, got caught with the shot, and it was over with, right? Bivol fought his fight, a disciplined control fight, and he got the win. In his most recent fight, he fought Jermell Charlo. Charlo, while he didn't get stopped in the fight, he fought a very hesitant, safe fight. He seemed like he was coming in there to try to make it to 12 rounds, to try to prove a point that he wasn't going to get stopped, rather than taking the risk and fighting with confidence. But I felt like Canelo did look much better from a movement standpoint, from combination standpoint. And quite frankly, man, his conditioning looked really nice, right? He looked rejuvenated a little bit. He looked healthy and much better conditioning. The old Canelo, he looked like the old Canelo in some forms, in some spurts. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Canelo looks like in this fight, man. I'm on the other side. I still think he has some good fights left in him. Which version of Canelo are we going to get? And obviously, we'll see on the night. We're definitely going to get a good version of Canelo. But is it going to be that great version that we're accustomed to? I think Munguia is going to be the guy to make him fight and bring out a little bit of that old Canelo in this fight. Let's talk about his opponent, Jamie Munguia. 43 wins, no losses, 34 wins by way of knockout. This is a big step up for Jamie Munguia. He came onto the scene, in the professional scene, knocking cats out, having his way. He was fun to watch because of his style, aggressive, pressuring, heavy punches. He doesn't really care too much about getting hit. He's going to land the bigger shots. He believes in his power. He got his first big win when he fought Liam Beefy Smith. Liam's back. Well, that was back in what, 2000? That was back in 2018. Smith, man, he was doing his thing, man. but Munguia was throwing everything with bad intentions behind it. When he would land, it looked great, landed cleanly. But when he would miss, man, he was missing wide. It was bad when he missed wide. Smith was doing what I believe Canelo will be trying to do in this fight. Smith was trying to counter him coming in and find his timing, and he would. But Munguia was just punching at will. And even though he was getting clipped, he always came back with something that was powerful and strong. He returned fire. And at that time, man, Munguia was 21, 22 years old, right? Looked very lean, looked very young in the face, strong, determined, and he just outworked Smith, right? But he did get touched up with shots consistently as well. Munguia has a chin. Man even took an elbow from Smith, followed by a hook, and all in one in the same sequence, and he didn't drop. The man has a chin, always has. Even though Munguia didn't stop Smith, he dang near broke him down, right? And he dropped him, and he got himself the decision victory. Munguia's defense, yeah, it's leaky. His offense is his defense, man. When he fought Gary O'Sullivan, he gave Munguia a very good fight as well, too. O'Sullivan is not known to be a big puncher like that, and he was having some great rounds, landing cleanly on Munguia, including a shot where Munguia had him on the ropes, and Munguia was letting his hands go, and 5 seconds before they rang the bell, man, Gary O'Sullivan caught him with the overhand right that wobbled Munguia. You could see as Munguia was walking back to his stool, his legs are wobbling a little bit, right? So he can be hurt. He has been hurt before, but he recovers extremely well. Munguia would come back and start using his jab a little bit against O'Sullivan, and that's when he would be able to really separate himself and overwhelm Sullivan, man. Munguia's conditioning is at a very high level. He is going to punch and punch and punch and sit on these punches and sit on these punches and throw everything. And he overwhelmed O'Sullivan and was able to get the win, able to get the stoppage win. There was a sequence, man, if you really want to know what Munguia is about, if you've never watched him before, man, there was a sequence in that fight where O'Sullivan had Munguia on the ropes. And rather than Munguia using his footwork to step aside to change angles, Munguia just stood right there and let off 7-piece combinations and didn't move. Munguia is not really a mover like that. The man's clearly coming to brawl. He wanted to make it a firefight. And I don't blame him. Now, Derevyanchenko gave him a fight of his life. Munguia was used to being the guy pushing the pace and imposing on his opponents the size, the power, the strength, the brute force. And Derevyanchenko came out from round 1 bringing the pressure, really aggressive. And it seemed like it caught Munguia off guard a little bit because he wasn't ready for it, right? But sure enough, in the second round, Munguia did the same thing that Derevyanchenko did, and we saw what type of energy that fight was going to bring. We saw what type of mindset both men had in that ring, and both men hurt each other in this fight in different stages and rounds of this fight. Derevyanchenko almost won the fight at 39, 40 years old, but in the last 2 rounds, the younger, more busier, more energetic man was able to outwork the other man. Right? Derevyanchenko landed a lot of clean shots, especially that left hook. And when he went to the body, he slowed up Munguia and hurt Munguia with those shots. Something that Canelo does a great job of. Derevyanchenko doesn't have the same similar style as Canelo, but man, he gave Munguia serious competitive work for 12 rounds. Munguia in that fight, man, showed a lot of heart, a lot of composure to not fold in the moment when he had to dig deep, right? He found a way to win. Munguia is a winner, man. If you want to beat him, you have to take him out. This guy knows how to dig deep, and he's going to give everything that he's got in order to win the fight. And he's shown that over and over again. Even if his defense is leaky, the man is coming to fight. That's the spirit of a fighter. In his most recent fight, he fought John Ryder, someone that Canelo fought, didn't stop, but beat him up very well, right? Beat him up very well. Munguia was finally showing that jab, and it was good to see because it was just like, man, you would be so much better if you put that jab forward, come in with a little bit more calculated approach, be a little bit more patient. And he gave us that, and it was great to see, and it was working. He showed us a different skill set different approach that we haven't really seen too much of that in him. And he waited to let his hands go when the opening was there. When he was in range, that's when he let it go. And because he was patient and more calculated in his approach, he was able to do more, even though he was doing less. He was landing with efficiency rather than just landing with volume, right? He came in close range, body combinations, and was able to drop Ryder in the second round with combinations as Ryder was against the ropes. Even though Munguia had John Ryder hurt in the second round with combinations, man, he wasn't able to close out the show in that round, right? Munguia went back to old ways. And because he went back to old ways, he tried to jump on Ryder, tried to let off flurries of shots and wasn't moving his head off the line. John Ryder came back and countered him 4 times that backed up Munguia, right? He was smothering his work when he was rushing his work. You know what I'm saying? So Ryder fought back and won a couple of those rounds, man. But all in all, he couldn't keep up with the pace, the pressure, the consistent punches from Munguia. The volume was just too much, man. And I thought it was a really, really good win for Jaime Munguia, even though he reverted back to old ways in some form, which is, you know, it takes more than one fight to adjust to new styles and to break old habits. But the thing with Munguia, man, if he can control his emotion and be patient and fight with strategy and be more calculated, he's going to be tough to beat. That last performance from Jaime Munguia, that's a very impressive version of him. And he was able to stop John Ryder, something that Canelo couldn't do, even though Canelo did put a beating on John Ryder. So this is going to be a firework of a fight, man. I'm looking forward to seeing how this one goes. So who wins? Munguia cannot come into this fight and, as I said, get sucked into the Canelo effect, right? That's when you come in and you're like, yo, I'm fighting Canelo, man. Like, yo, is this and that. I've been hearing all these different things, the power, this and that. And you think too much and you give him too much respect and he doesn't give you no respect and you fight his fight and not your fight, right? You can't go in and get shy and get comfortable. Nah, you can't do that against Canelo. It's not going to work out in your favor. He's going to have to outwork Canelo in pushing back, something that Munguia is capable of doing, something that he's been doing his whole career. But he cannot fight emotionally because Canelo will counter him and make him pay. Canelo is going to really test Munguia, not just physically, but mentally as well, too. You cannot fight emotionally. You cannot just come in with brute force and brute strength. Maybe it could happen, but it's not always going to be the case. You got to do more than just one thing in order to beat Canelo. The other thing, too, man, is Canelo is great to the body. The man knows how to target the body and find different ways how to hit different parts of the body. And a Canelo body liver shot, man, that hurts. It's power on it. It's accuracy on it. It's precision. The timing is right. It hits you at the right spot. And I think Canelo is going to target that often. But Munguia is a tough dude, man. You know, he's got a great chin, but he's not defensively sound enough to take punishment from a power puncher like that. Deryachenko had him hurt. Liam Smith had him hurt, right? He's been hurt a couple times before, and those guys aren't as big as a puncher as Canelo is. The other thing, too, is how much body shots can he take? That's going to be a question. Canelo's conditioning is going to be tested here as well, too, because Munguia, man, he will push the pace. And if Canelo isn't conditioned, he will fade. But Canelo is smart enough and experienced enough to know how to handle the tiredness if he does get there. I've never really seen Canelo tie up too much, so that would be interesting, right? If I saw improvement in Munguia's defense, I might even lean toward him in this fight because he can outwork Canelo, and I think he will throw more punches in this fight than Canelo. But you can't just go in just to outwork Canelo, man. You got to find a way to stop Canelo unless you're winning every round so clear, so definitive, right? Canelo, well, part of the Canelo effect. Bivol dominated Canelo when the judges had it 115, 113. It was not that close of a fight. Munguia wants to come in and win this fight. He's going to have to find a way to stop Canelo or at least win these rounds definitively. Something I don't think that he will. Canelo's chin is ridiculous, man. I think Canelo is going to use Munguia's momentum and aggression and emotion against him, target the body, and maybe even stop Munguia. And the reason why I say maybe and not definitively going to happen is because Canelo hasn't gotten a stoppage since Caleb Plant in 2021. But I think this is a healthier Canelo. I think he's feeling kind of like his old self in some ways. And I think Munguia is just too easy to get hit. Even as tough as he is, as strong as Munguia is, I don't think you can take that much punishment every fight and keep pushing. At some point, the body will break down a little bit. This fight definitely could go 12 rounds. Both of these guys have chins like that. But I think Canelo is due for a stoppage at some point, man. And I think against Munguia might be the right time to get back into the stoppage column, because I think he's going to target the body more than the head. And I think the body is going to weaken. And I think that's when he will be able to get a stoppage, get the ref to stop it, or really start to impose his will in this fight later in the half of the fight. I like Canelo Alvarez to win this fight by stoppage. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning this one? Let me know in the comment section below. If you'd like to support the channel, there's a couple ways that you can do so. You can like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like support by way of donation, you can find options in the description below. Also, my Cash App handle will be on screen as well. Any amount goes towards the growth of this channel. It will be greatly, greatly appreciated. Shout out to everybody that continues to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate each of you. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video this long, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.